Having nothing to do with Pesachim for the most part.
How important is the Tosfos?
No. I have to be honest. Not too many.
Everything is important.
There are a lot of other important stuff. I'll just put it like this: if anybody wants, you don't want to hear a chumrah about whether women should ride bicycles, then get off the daf. That's a little hint of what's going to be.
Sneak preview.
Anyways,
I mean, what are they doing out of the kitchen anyway, right? Wah, wah, wah.
There you go. That's going to really win you some points there, Simon.
I'm married already. She gets it.
Anyways, okay, so let's just the chazar from last night. So we started with the Mishnah that you have to be by the chametz, right? Any place it's possible you bring in the chametz. How do you check a wine cellar? And then basically the whole sugya was about what is or. Is or day or is or night? Which we're going to continue. We're going to continue tonight, right? Daf Gimel. So okay, the last three words on the bottom of Beis and Beis is Meisvei Mar Zutra. Zutra asked the kasha. Again, I don't have clear why the Gemara keeps asking about it if we already said Shema Mino that it's night. Right? Shema Mino or is night. Correct?
So I thought maybe because even if it could be night, it's still a weird word choice. Why don't you just say what you mean? So maybe the Gemara keeps looking for something that's gonna be, bedafka or more clear.
Because or would make more sense for it to be day as opposed to it to being night. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's not you were trying to say night. That's not the first word choice.
Right.
So why'd they pick such a word that's not so standard? I don't know, just a random thought.
So, okay, so then it keeps asking. Okay, I hear that. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. So hamapelis or l'shmainim ve'echad. Somebody, a woman. So basically, the halacha is. Let's do a little background. The halacha is, and there's a lot of confusion in halacha l'maisa with this, because a woman is considered any dam that she sees from after having a baby. Meaning, once there's two things that people confuse. Once the bleeding from the childbirth stops, right? And any subsequent bleeding is considered dam toyher, which is the blam. Any dam she sees is mutter. It's not matamah, but she has to go to the mikveh first. Meaning, let's say she's in either for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever it is. She goes to the mikveh. She sees dam again, right? So then that dam is tahor till either 40 days or 80 days, depending if it's a boy or a girl, right? After that, the dam she sees is back to tummy. So a lot of people think dam toyer, dam tummy. So they think that nowadays a woman has to wait 40 days, 80 days. It's not true. It's either 7 days or 14. Obviously, it ends up being a lot longer. But for a boy, it's 7, and for a girl, it's 14, and that's it. There's no waiting 40 days. It's stama confusion, but whatever it is. So up until the 80th day, any dam that she sees, and then she's going to bring korbanos, right? So what happens if she has a miscarriage the night of the 80th, right? Meaning she's already out of 80 days, and the korban's going to be brought the next day. So we look at it that, okay, she's out of the 80, or do we say, no, she still didn't bring the korban?
What 80 is because of a girl?
Yes.
So if it was a boy, this would be the same question, 41?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So hamapelas or l'shmayne ve'echad. Actually, I tell you. Okay, let's do the Gemara first, and then hamapelas or l'shmayne ve'echad. So if she's mapelas on the night, which or obviously is we're calling it the night of the 81st. Beishamek pa'im mikarban beishamek says it's potter from mikarban. Beisil mechayven beisil says yichayven the korban. Zamalan beisil beishamek ma'ishna or shmayne ve'echad miyam shmayne ve'echad. What's the difference between the 81st night and the 81st day? That's one kasha. Why are you making a difference? And then the second time he has right? If you're saying it for tumah, it's the same status, so then shouldn't it be the same status for a korban? So why should you have to bring 2 korbanos? I'm sorry, I didn't explain that part. The machlokes is right. It's not potter from a korban. It's whether you're gonna have to bring a korban. It's just a matter. If you chayiv 2 korbanos or 1 korban, either way, that's the tinus from Bisham D'Usil. So midik Amr Bisham Bisham Ma'ishna or Shmoyne Ve'echad v'Yom Shmoyne Ve'echad. What's the difference? The night of the 81st and the day of the 81st. Shmamina or urtuhu. So we see that the word or means night. Shmamina. That's what it is. Now, by the way, we don't have this nowadays. Nowadays, anytime an Isha sees Dam, it's going to be Matama. Right? So we don't have Dam Toyer B'zman Hazeh. But we will use it. It's rare that it happens, but we will use this. I don't know if I should say it. I shouldn't say it because it's so rare and I don't want to cause any confusion, but I'm going to say it anyways, is that, so let's say a woman goes to mikveh after childbirth and it's within 80 days of a girl. And then she sees Dam and now we're masupik on the color, we're masupik this, that. We will use it as a tziruf, that even if it theoretically would be bad, it's Dam Toyer, even though be'etzem we're not makel Dam Toyer. Right? But we know that within 80 days it is Dam Toyer. So we will use it as sort of like, okay, we can be a little bit more makel in the situation, right? So that
What
would be
exactly
the
make on? Like what type of?
meaning your rabbi's looking at it, it's like, okay, is this red? Is this not red? So then you have a little bit more breathing room because you could say, okay, theoretically, even if it is red, really it's Dam Toyer. If we would be in the old days, it's Dam Toyer and it really should be fine. Nowadays, we're machmer, we don't do the Dam Toyer thing. But theoretically, even if it was Dam, it's within 80 days, right? It's going to be, it'll be fine. But again, we don't paskin like that, but we would use it. But it's very rare to have that shiloh because usually they're once they're clean for a while. Okay.
Is that a Metzia change or is that a
No, it's halachic change. We don't do any of this. We don't do any differentiation anymore. Anything from the uterus is out if it's down. Yeah, not a Metzias change. Yeah. Okay, so Meisvei, next case. Yochel Yenechel Or L'Shlishi. So we know karbanos are eaten for 2 days and 1 night, right? So Yochel Yenechel Or L'Shlishi. So you would think, well, maybe you eat it on the night of you're able to, meaning, and you're not burning it till the next day, meaning you get 2 days, 1 night to eat it, and then you got to wait the next night. You don't burn the carbon, so you burn it the next day. All right, so again, you get 1 day to eat it, 1 night to eat it, 1 day to eat it. Right? Then that's it. That night you have to stop eating it. But if there's anything left over, you don't burn it till the next day, till day 2, till day 3. Right? So bottom line is, can you? What's the? Meaning we're saying, how do you know that you're not allowed to eat it that night? So yochel yenechol or l'shlishi. You would think you eat it on the 3rd night. But then zvachim nechol liyom echad, u'shlam nechol l'shnei yom. Right? The zvachim gets eaten for 1 day, and shlamim gets eaten for 2 days. Malahal layla achar hayom. Just like over there, you do get the night after the day, meaning you get a carbon. You eat it during the day, and then you can eat it that night. So shlamim, which is 2 days and a night, you would think the same thing. Afkan laila achar hayom, so the laila, the night should follow the day. It says on the day of your zvicha, you eat it, and the next day it's going to be nicer. Okay, you only can eat the carbon when it's day. You can't eat it to the night of the 3rd. So then yachol, you sort of miyad, but okay, so maybe you have to burn it immediately at night. Why do you have to wait the night? V'dinu, and learn it out that zvachim nechol liyom v'layla, and zvachim gets eaten for the day and the night. I'm sorry, for day and 1 night. Ushlam nechol l'shnei yom v'layla echad, and shlam gets eaten for 2 days and 1 night. Malal takif la'achilas reifa. Right, just like over there, immediately after eating it, meaning you're done eating it at night. Right, regular karbonas, you're done eating it at night. Then it hits daybreak, and then you burn it. So the same thing with shlamim, which is 2 days and a night, you would burn it at night, because right after you finished eating, you burn it. So take of la'achilas reifa, right after eating it, you burn it. Afkan take of la'achilas reifa. So here too, you would say that you should burn it immediately. So the pasuk says straight out, the noisar from your carbon on the 3rd day, you burn it. You have to burn it during the day. You don't burn it at night. Okay, a little kudshim, yeah. It's a little preview for in 4 prakim from now. We're going to be doing a lot of this. So it says that you're supposed to eat it. The Gemara is asking if you could eat it or l'shlishi, the night of the 3rd, ama or urtuhu. So you see that night is considered night. Shmami no, yes, it is. Okay, so another proof that or is night. Fine.
But
Tashma.
I can find anywhere why we have so many proofs.
I looked around a little. I can't say I looked too hard. But I didn't find anything. I'm gonna, if it won't be forgotten by tomorrow, I'm gonna try and continue to research it. But tomorrow's another daf. So yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anybody else hear anything? I'm saying
Yeah,
Avrami said a svara before, but what are you saying?
which are shlishi? What are shlishi? You check the carbon. You could check the carbon. What's today? Tuesday. You check the carbon. So you can do Tuesday night, Wednesday. Yeah, and that's it.
Tuesday night is Sheni.
Why is it our shame?
Because the night comes before the day. So the day one ends at Shkia.
Yeah.
Day two begins at Shkia. So Sheni, Laila, it's not the second night, but it's of the second day.
Meaning,
so the following night is Shlishi.
Meaning,
okay, good. So they accomplished they wanted to come. They confused me. Good. So Baruch Hashem. Good.
Okay, so let's try to make it.
This is the first time?
No, but they're consistent. Baruch Hashem.
They didn't want you to get
blood. How many times were you confused?
They didn't want you to get excited that you're done with Erevin, so they threw a little cheshbon into there to make sure that you're
fine. Very good.
The pshat is that if you're saying shchita's carbon is during the day. So let's say what was today? Tuesday, right? Mm-hmm. So you brought a carbon today, Tuesday. Now we know that the last night was meaning Monday night. What we call Monday night was night number one because it goes basar the day. So today is day. So you get to eat a shlomim. You get to eat it today, meaning today, Tuesday day.
Okay, fine, but it's
then
one
you get
day,
Tuesday
one
night.
night, and one. It's one day, a night, and a day. So
correct.
So okay, fine. I'm just to call it our shlishi is like.
Yeah, I hear that. Yes, you're saying calling it matzeh yom sheni would have made it. Matzeh yom sheni
because you can't eat it, so it's not.
Right. I hear. Good order. Yeah.
But it's a good point. It brings to light the difference in taich between Oyer and Laila.
It brings to light, no pun intended. You said it brings to light, no pun intended.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah. What are you saying?
That's the difference in taich between Oyer and Laila. Laila just means night. So as far as Laila is concerned, that would be Laila Sheni. But
okay.
Oyer means the night of the day.
Right. I hear. Very good. Okay, good. So Tashima, yeah.
Wait, Uri's trying to say something. We can't hear him.
Uri, you need a better headset. Your headset's horrible.
Where is he? I don't even see him. All right. Maybe we got to do a Daf Yomi headset swag to give out.
Can you hear me now?
We hear you very low, but go ahead.
Yes, sir, Mr. Verizon.
Oh gosh, yeah, it doesn't help. So
then we have to get cable for Gershi then.
Could it be that the Gemara is trying to prove here that or actually means the beginning of the night? Meaning not like to further what Gershi is saying, right? Not the difference. They're trying to prove, how do you define or as the beginning of the night as opposed to just daybreak, you know?
You want to prove that it means the beginning of the night as opposed to later.
Just night. And that's why they keep going with trying to find a place where it means the beginning of the night as opposed to just night.
Okay, I hear. I mean, the Gemara is going to discuss the reason, Martin, but you were saying, why would you do it at night immediately? Because of the reason. Right? Maybe. I hear. Okay, let's see about it. Yes, so Toshima. Or Shal Yom Kippurim, right? The night of Yom Kippur, Mispal Sheva, right? So we know Yom Kippur, we dive in 7 brachas, u'mizvada, and you do a vidoy. Shachris, mispal sheva, mizvada. By Shachris, you say 7 brachas and do vidoy. But Musaf, mispal sheva, mizvada, right? This is the regular Yom Kippur davening. The Mincha, mispal sheva, mizvada. And by Mincha, you daven 7 and you're mizvada, right? By Arvis, by Ma'ariv, right? Then you also mispal me'ain shmayna. Also, you do me'ain Shemona As, right? From similar to Shemona Esrei, right? Now, why the Gemara here doesn't bring down the Elah? it's not so clear why the Gemara doesn't, but that's part of it because the Gemara here seemingly skips Ne'ilah. Okay, but whatever it is, so you don't have to do the full 18 if the Olam remembers from Brachas, right? That's the shortened Havinenu, right? Which again shows you that you're supposed to finish Yom Kippur on time, because if they chop down the Shemona Matzah Yom Kippur, right, the holiest day of the year, you think we could daven a full Shemona Esrei, we're all uplifted. No, give them the shortcut version so the island could go home and eat, right? It's a kasha on all the yeshivish places. Fine.
So why do we have the full cut version?
What?
We do have the full cut version.
We do, but this brisa is saying, I don't know why we don't pass it like this brisa. But with the truth is because we don't, I think it's pshat because we just don't do Havinenu nowadays. You ever heard anybody doing Havinenu? I heard in one scenario where once somebody did the shortened version. But I mean, it's really short if you remember.
Rabbi gives it out. Rabbi used to give it out to people.
In what situation?
I don't remember all the situation. I remember in Eretz Yisrael, he had a card with it with benching and with that the Havinenu for benching. I don't know the right terminology. And the one for Shemona Esrei.
I mean, the Havinenu benching is ala michya, but
no, he had something else. He had with brachas, small card.
I don't know.
It was in the.
He said if you were working, if you this, that, if you couldn't, I don't remember the exact one.
Okay, listen, that is the situation that you're supposed to do Havinenu. That is the situation. Yeah. What art school has a Havinenu in the Siddur?
No, if it did, we probably would say it more often.
Yeah, I would say for Corona for sure, an outdoor minyanim in a tent, freezing, that would be a good reason, right? Okay, whatever it is. But you see that according to this Tana, you would do by Ma'ariv.
So Yaakov, please don't give Aaron any ideas. You're just getting all excited over there.
Yeah, that's right. You got to be the most popular minion in town for sure. Okay.
There's definitely no pleasing in Aaron's minion.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have more about tent minyanim in Amud Beis, so let's hold on. Yeah. Reb Chanina ben Gamliel, I remember Shum Avoisov, Reb Mishpal Shemona Esrei Shleimus. This is the reason. I mean, whatever. This Tana is saying that you do Shleimus, and this is what we pass when they should tzarich lemer havdalah b'chayrin adas. Right? Now I don't know why the first man number doesn't want that, doesn't care, but I mean that's what you were asking, Naftali. But he's saying since you have to say havdalah b'chayrin adas, which is the Gemara in Brachos also says that's why you don't do it on Motzei Shabbos. So that's why you don't do the shortened version. Alma or to whatever it is, the point of this brisa was you see again or means night. Shema, we know that or means night. Okay. That's the third proof in a row that we say Shema, we know that or means night.
I was just thinking, could we say pshat that the word or is for night is because it's saying when a little bit opposite of what Uri said, that or is clearly night, meaning that the whole concept of or is to offer clarity. That once it's clear that it's a particular day, then the mitzvah kicks in.
You mean so? You're saying not the beginning of the night.
It's bedafka, not the beginning of the night.
Dafka, meaning you have to wait till it's real dark. Right. Okay, now we have conflicting pshatim. Okay, I hear. Maybe Taka.
I've been wrong before.
Doesn't mean we have two opinions. It's fine. We like opinions, right? Yeah. No, and I hear. Okay, so let's see. Right. So Toshima, the Tani Reb Shmuel, Leile Arba Aser Baitkin is.
What if B'tikas Chametz? You're supposed to do the beginning of the night. Show which way.
That's a question. Well, we're going to get to that. Is that when? Do you do it by Tzeis? Do you do it by Nashmoshes? Yeah, that will invite her. We'll get to that. So Toshima, the Tani Reb Shmuel, Leile Arba Aser Baitkin is a Chametz Lara Ner. You have here it says Lel Arba Aser Baitkin is a Chametz Lara Ner Alma or Urtahu. So now you see that or is urta.
How do you say or is urta?
Oh, because it says clearly, meaning this is a brisa that seems to be saying the same thing as our Mishnah, except it chooses the word Laila instead of or. So it must be that or means Laila.
Why?
Because it's saying the same. These lachayra, the brises are not. They're not going to have a stira in brises that one means day, one means night. Otherwise, you have a big stira between tanoim. So to make it not a stira, it must be.
What do you mean? Our Mishnah says oir and this brisa says lel.
Right. So they both must be night. Right?
Maybe
they both must be night. Otherwise, you have a stira in brises. If one means day, one means night, you have a stira. When should you do b'dikas chametz? Night or day? Yeah.
Back to your kasha from before we started the daf last night. Why is it called Pesachim, not Pesach? Why does the Brisa use the term leilei, not leil arba'asa?
Yes, I don't know. I was wondering that. I don't know. I if I knew enough dikduk, maybe I would understand why it's doing that. But if once I don't know, lay maybe.
Is it going to explain it on Zion Amud Beis when we get to it?
I don't remember.
No.
I don't remember.
You mean in 3 weeks?
Parrots is getting tired. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So let's whatever it is. That means alma or utu. Ella. So after an amud and a half, blot and a half of this. Ella bein Rav Huna bein Rav Yehuda de kuli alma or urtu. Everybody holds or means night. V'loy pligi marki asrei or marki asrei. One is going with his town and one is going with his town or his city. Basrei de Rav Huna karu nagi. In the town of Rav Huna, they call it light, meaning because they want to use it in a they don't want to say the word dark, right? Like the lashon sagi nor, that's what it's called. You call somebody who's blind, you call him that he's full of light. So the same thing. We don't want to call it darkness, so we call it light. And in the town of Rabbi Yehuda, they just called it night. All right, the same thing. I guess the first sheet of nagi is like nowadays, where we try and make we try and use nice lashonis for everything, right? No, well, davarach will be on the base, but
It's using the word lele again also.
Yeah, well, yeah, because one is the one Bryce and one is the Mishnah, right? So I think that would be the same shot. Vitana, okay, so Vitana done my time we look at Tani Lele. So how come our Mishnah Taka doesn't say Lele? Lishna Ma'alya, no, it's taking a Lishna Ma'alya, a better, a higher lashon.
See, Yaakov, didn't the first thing the Banshal made was dark? The Bria was made Motzi Shabbos.
Right.
When it was dark, it was made dark. That's the first thing in the Bria is nighttime.
Correct.
So what's the problem with nighttime? That's the first
thing
we're not he decided to make.
No, it's not. We don't have an issue with nighttime. We just have an issue with calling night. Night always brings up a image of cold, dark.
I'm saying
scary.
It shouldn't. It's the first thing. The first thing the Bershom decided to make was night.
Right.
So my Shaz asking.
What do you mean? No, but I'm saying, but that's
why is night having the connotation of negative? And my Shaz asking, what do you mean? But that's when it was created. That's the biggest godless was created by night.
In a Hanami, we're not saying.
That's fine. I understand I understand.
You're saying, but it should be something great because it was the first thing created.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Was it? Choshech was the first thing that was created?
I mean, the world was choshech before there was light. No.
Was that a creation by itself? The first creation after the world was light, not dark.
Okay, it doesn't really make a difference.
What are you talking about, Gershon? What? The world was made Yom Rishon, right? It was made by Avdullah. That's the first thing in the world is somebody smoking, the Rajam smoking a cigarette. Motzi Shabbos. That's what he made. That's the first something you should be able to relate to. That's the first thing in the Bria. Is a cigarette, Motzi Shabbos.
Only it wasn't yet Motzi Shabbos, and it wasn't. It was happened to be
Shabbos.
dark.
It was
the Bria was the universe.
Motzi Shabbos.
Wait, it doesn't make a difference if it's
Yom Rishon starts Motzi Shabbos.
No, it doesn't. Today it does.
Can you guys fight about this? Let's continue.
Fine. Okay, go ahead.
The Gabbai is spoken, but yeah, no, but doesn't. The point is, if dark is, it doesn't make a difference when it was created. Hashem created darkness, right? Clearly.
I had the same kasha also this morning. Where do you have a riot that Lila? Where the Torah is a riot that Lila's negative?
Now.
Where do you have a riot, Lila? What?
That's negative. I'm saying the Gemara is assuming it as if it's a given somewhere.
Oh, so that's the next. We'll get to that in a second.
They say a woman always marries her father. Kenai Nahara.
That's South Bend.
Very good, Simon. Simon, that was a good one, Simon. Okay. Anyways, we have to see.
Step foot to New York.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, let's see. Lishna ma'al Yehudin. We want to use a higher lashon. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Dam Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. La'olam al yotzi adam davar meguna mipiv. A person should not take any negative out of his mouth. Now, there's an important Rashi here. I'll read it quickly just because I know it's getting late. Because the Olam's asking about it. The sixth wide line down, Rashi says davar meguna. So that sounds like what? Saying Laila is a davar meguna? Right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu created dark. I don't know, Rabanim, if this is exactly what you're asking, but Rashi is saying, you can't say that saying Laila is considered a negative. That's not a negative. The Chachamim want to look for a more clean, higher, what's the lashon?
Refined.
Refined, thank you. Refined. They want to use a refined language. You don't want to use, not negative, right? So it doesn't mean that it's negative. It just means that there's a higher, refined. Again, refined. We'll go with refined. Refined language. Because the pasuk ikam means to go around, right? It changed the Torah by 8 letters. So now it shouldn't take a negative out of its mouth. Because it says from a behema that's tar and a behema that's not tahar. Why didn't it just say from a behema that's tar and a behema that's tameh? So it added on 8 extra letters to say einena tahira, in order to teach you that we don't like to use the word tameh.
People become tired at night. I'll bring you a common rice. The night is something good, right?
But that's what we're saying. But it's just. There's a better way to say it. There's just a better way to say it.
Starts the day.
Right?
You don't say hamapil during the day, no?
What?
Hamapil at night because it's a more
that's a bracha. That's
scary
a bracha
time, no?
Yeah. Yeah, and so is this a raya to those, instead of calling them garbage men, those that call them what do they call them now? Not garbage men.
Sanitation?
No, there's a better word. They call them something else.
And sanitation engineers, no.
And engineers, something like that. So
cleanup specialists.
Okay, what I'm saying, whatever. So we laugh at that, but Lamaisa, it's a Gemara.
Do we have this Gemara in Brachas within the Torah?
I don't know.
How about life insurance?
What do you mean by that?
It's insurance for when you die.
Oh, you mean it's life insurance? I hear. I never thought about that.
It's good. Like healthcare. Healthcare has nothing to do with health.
That's I hear. Very good. Now I happened today upon something very fascinating. What is this pasuk referring to? By Noach bringing the animals onto the teva. That's what this pasuk is, right? Right? Yeah. So there was no such thing as kashrus back then. There was no kashrus. Was that? There was no kashrus. There was no such thing as.
But the karbonis. Can't be the karbonis.
Benegeya to karbonis. Benegeya to karbonis. It was the negeya. It wasn't negeya. You could eat whatever you want back then. It's Rabbeinu Yoin in the Sharei Tshuva. I happened to upon it today. He goes through this whole Gemara and he says a very interesting thing when he discusses. He says, what's the pshan in the Gemara? Mina behema Torah, mina behema and shereinena Torah. He says that since people were eating this back then, they were eating treifa animals. To call them tameh when somebody's eating that and calling that tameh, that's negative.
They weren't eating animals at the time of Noach.
What?
They were only allowed to eat animals after Noach.
No, but meaning they had the same status. Tar, tameh had the same
Tar
status.
and tameh could have been how the animals acted versus how they didn't act.
Oh, that I don't know. That I'm just telling you.
They didn't eat animals until after the teva. That's specifically in the pasuk.
Correct.
So you can't say that they ate any animal.
No,
that's
but
not true.
But these are the animals that they brought onto the teva that they ate afterwards.
Yeah, so it could be how they acted, were tahara and not tahara.
Could be. I'm saying what Rabbeinu Yoin is saying, that to say that something that somebody's eating is tameh is not a refined thing to say, and that's what the Gemara means. It's not a right thing to say, to call somebody something that's tameh. Bishlama, once you're not allowed to eat them. Okay, so you could call them tameh, but when somebody's eating it, to call what he's eating tameh, that's not a right thing. Okay, that's Rabbeinu Yoin, the Sharei Tshuva's pshat. Okay, fine. Rapapa Amar Teisha, it's not 8. The Gemara even went up to 9. right? It says that a man will not be tar. Mikre Laila. So Ravina, so it should just say Tame. What is adding? Asher lo yiyeh tar, right? So that's 9. Ravina Amar Eser Vav da tar. There's an extra Vav, right? The Tahar. The 16. Shenemer ki Amar Mikrehu Bilti Tarhu ki loy tar. Right. So all that is an extra 16 letters. Anybody wants to do the math? They can do the math. Tanya Dve Rabbi Yishmael La'olam. A person should always talk clean. By a zav, to mazav, we call it riding on it, right? And by isha, it doesn't say to something that the norm, meaning when a zav sits on something or a zava sits on something, they make it tummy. So and usually a lot of them are animal not, but the saddle or whatever it is, right? So by the man, it refers to it as riding. By isha, it says moishav. For Aymar, then it's that, right? Meaning because it's not sneas for, and we'll get to this in a minute, that a woman is riding on top of a whatever animal, donkey, whatever it is. So they should really sit side saddle because it's more sneas for a woman to sit side saddle. So therefore, that's why the Torah called it Moshe. That's one example. And you should choose a lashon of arumim is smart, wise people. Which I found a little interesting because arumim, right? You would think arumim means undressed. So that what kind of lashon naki is that? But of course, it means wise. Rav Aaron, once you're in the confused mode, we're going to go with it all the way. Okay, right? Fine. That's another. That's a second time in the Torah of Aimer. But das wasai bara melela, and your das of your lips should be clean and pure. So my v'aimer. What are all these v'aimers? So if you would think that's only the Torah should speak nicely, but the Rabbanon don't have to speak nicely. So Tashema v'aimer v'tivcha lashon arumim, that the wise people, that's obviously referring to the Rabbanon, so they not only should the Torah speak nicely, the Rabbanon should also speak nicely. And maybe, okay, so the rabbis should speak nicely. But stam shmuzing, there's no reason to take the high road and speak nicely. Words should say clean things, nice, pure things. Yeah, fine. Yeah. So if Isha likes it by Merkov, and by Isha it doesn't say Merkov. Right, it says Rivka got up with her naraseh and she was riding on top of the gumel. We just said that the word riding, not side saddle, is not said by woman, right? But this is last week. This is last week's parsha, right? Last week. Yeah. So it says she rode. So Hasam Mashum Bisusa de Gemalim Archu. No, that was the way they had to do it because on a camel you can't ride side saddle. It's a little too dangerous to ride side saddle. So that's the description of the way they rode the camel. So Mamela, that's the way the Torah has to say it. Right? Moshe took his wife and the kids and they rode on the chamor. Hasam Mishum Banov Archu. No, because of the kids. So since she had the kids on there, so she had to ride normally. So again, it seems like you can't say it not accurate description just because you want to say a clean lashon. So that's the way it was. So therefore you have to describe it that way. And she was riding a chamor. This is talking about Avigail that was going to David HaMelech. So Hasam Mashum Bisusa Delelia Archu. No, because she was scared because it was at night. So she rode regular, not side saddle. It wasn't because she was scared at night. She was just scared that she had to go meet David to try and 2 weeks ago's parsha. Okay, so she was scared for about meeting David. She wasn't scared about David. Mishum bisusa dahar ikar. No, she was scared of the mountain because she was going down a mountain. So therefore, that's why she was riding regular. Now, those that say that women should not go horseback riding and on bicycles comes from this Gemara. There's no halacha in this Gemara is also there's no halacha on this, that no befer, meaning no halacha in Shulchan Aruch, etc., that says that a woman can't go bike riding and can't go horseback riding. Just from this, it's mashma that it's not a refined thing for a woman to do. And then the extension of that is that women shouldn't drive cars. Right? So I warned you to tune out if you don't.
Unless sitting sideways.
Is that where the Chassidim come?
Some of them drive like they're sitting sideways. What are you saying?
Is that the Chassidim? Is this whole thing for the Chassidim that women are?
Yeah, that's what Chassidim get. That it's not a proper thing. It's not a proper thing for women to be riding and to doing all these types of things in public. So,
woman can drive a car.
Right. They just want to control their wives. Nothing to do with tznius. Let's be honest.
Okay. All right. I don't know. Okay.
The problem is they often have to have then drivers take them around different hours of the day and night. The drivers are 99% not women. That is a
what
problem.
Are you saying?
They often have to have Uber or other drivers bring them places, and that's
a lack of tznius.
It definitely is.
Well, they have, okay, but the frumma places have lady drivers. In the country by us, they advertise the lady driver. Okay, but the main point is the bicycle. Some places want to say bicycle is not nearly as untznius as a horse. V'ameivin yovin, right? It's not the same, right? Okay, so even the places that are
not a car. I mean,
what?
A car.
For sure not a car. Yes, for sure not a car. I'm just saying they extended from that, but the ikr thing is that it's really a horse. A bike is not as bad.
Who talks about it besides
everybody? There's a whole. I mean, the Shevet Alevi has tshuvas about it, which Fashtetzach, he says Shevet Alevi is a Ravazner. He is not happy with it, but he does say that if the women can go bike riding if they're by themselves, meaning they're not in public.
Right.
He does say that, but yeah.
What about horseback riding bisman hazeh? Actually horseback riding.
It's not usher. You can't say that it's usher. The only makar is this Gemara that clearly it's considered as a negative, right? So
doesn't it say the exact opposite? That if they needed to go somewhere, they took a horse.
And a chanami, if they needed it, no, you're right, 100%. That you're right. There's a raya from this Gemara that it's not usher, but because if necessary, it's necessary. But going on a joyride on a horse is not something that's.
Just because somebody's scared, what's matter not seen?
No, because there's no isser about it. It's just not. It's not a refined thing.
So why would the person be scared?
I mean, they're not mechuyev because if they're not mechuyev to lose their life or get injured because of something that's not awesome, right? Right. So that's where I understand it. Yeah. Okay. Fine. So that's the practical halacha that comes out from this. So then the Gemara says, "Be like siv tamei." Does it not say the word tamei in the Torah? Right. So of course it says tamei all over the Torah. So Ella kol heicha dechi adadi ninu. Whenever it's the same amount of words, mishtay b'lashon nekiya. It's going to always use a lashon nekiya. Kol heicha denefishin mili. But if it's going to take more words than mishtay b'lashon katzara, then we're always going to choose the shortened version. Oh, but what happened with Amud Aleph? Amud Aleph, we said that the Torah does want to. So we're saying no, the Torah has to pick a couple of spots to tell you that there is a concept of lashon nekiya, but we're always going to go short. Using shorter terminology is more important. But if you have the same choice, then you need to try and do if it's equal, then you're going to try and do it. You want to go with the cleaner option. A person should always teach the short version to his talmidim because the shorter, the better, the clearer. Right? That also gets into, you see, right, that Olam doesn't want to go back to shul. So clearly they want shorter speeches, right? Am I a little right? Aaron, the Gabbai is shaking his head. So there you go. So that's the shorter the speeches, it's better. That gets the message across faster. That's what the Gemara is saying. Meaning, it's so important to go shorter that the Gemara is going to use it's not going to use as refined terminology as it should, because it's better to do shorter so that people understand.
More comments going just 2 or 3 minutes.
Right? Fine. So then what it says, right? Is any time that it's the exact same, it's always going to use a lashon kavod. Right? It's the recheves and yosheves. Those are the same amount of letters. The Kamer, it says recheves. So the one says, so why are you saying recheves? It should say yosheves. That's more refined. The one says recheves ksiv, it says it without a vav. Okay, fine. Hanu, then we have some stories now about using refined language. Hanu trei talmidi. There were 2 talmidim. Rabbi Yasi came the Rav. They were sitting in front of Rav. Chad Amar Shvasinu Hai Shmaitza Kedavar Acham Besankan. This Shmaitza, this sugya, is complicated to me, like a weak or tired davar acher. Davar acher means a pig, right? V'chad Amar Shvasinu Hai Shmaitza Kegedim Besankan, like a goat. And Rab did not talk to the one that said davar acher because that wasn't a refined way of talking. Right? Hanu trei talmidim have a Yasvi kamei the Hillel. There were 2 talmidim sitting in front of Hillel. V'chan minay Raman Yochanan Zakai, and one was a Yochanan Zakai. V'amrilo kamei the Rebbe, or some say it was not. It was in front of Rebbe, not in front of Hillel. V'chan minay Rabbi Yochanan, and one was Rabbi Yochanan. Chadam bnei ma baitzin betara vein moiskin betara. How come you are allowed to do gather the grapes betahara vein moiskin betara? But you don't have to do oil b'tahara. Here we go for mamish Chanukah, right? So how come grapes has to be and olives don't have to be? And one said tara and one said tuma. So Omar, now really he didn't do anything wrong, right? Because, well, tara, tuma is the same amount of letters. No, tara is actually shorter. Right, so he went with longer and tuma. Right, okay.
No,
so
he went shorter because he said umoiskin betuma instead of saying the ain moiskin betahar.
Exactly. Okay, you think that's a pshat? Okay, I hear that. Either way, so Omar, so he said either Hillel or Rebbe, depending which version of the Gemara. I have faith that he's going to be somebody who's going to be a teacher of Klal Yisrael. It wasn't that many days. Until he taught Hayra Yisrael. So you see that somebody who's more refined is going to be, it's better to be more refined. So Hanu Tlasa Kahani, right? There were 3 Kahanim, right? And they each got.
You could go both ways with that Gemara. One was shorter, one was more refined. Which one was the Meira Halacha?
No, that's what Binyamin is saying, that it was shorter either way. No,
the refined was longer.
Well, if you just take the word tuma,
tuma as opposed to ein tara. Ein tara is 2 letters longer.
Well, I thought I was looking at tuma and tara as tuma is 1 more than tara. But
yeah,
you're right.
You have to have the ve'ain. So he was saying the ve'ain. Once he had the ve'ain, that's longer.
Okay. I hear. So what are you saying?
It could have. Which one was he talking about that was going to be a Meira Hira?
No, the one that was using the Lashon Naki. No?
I don't know. It could be the other way. Could be the shorter one.
Take who?
I hear. Yeah, got it. Yeah,
you know, like we always say, fine, that's the way we're going to do
it. No, the Rishonim discuss that. By the way, the Rishonim do discuss with what the story is here. But that I was going with the more pashut, that the one that used the Lashon Taira. But yeah, and Chanami. Okay, fine. But
our school answers it.
What do they say?
The guy who says Maiskin Betuma, it's a shaila. He means you have to do it Betuma, and that's why the other guy was better because he was more concise, but he was less clear.
Right, because it means it is 2 pshat. I mean, which one is which, right? Yeah. Okay, let's see about this.
That's a third option.
The second guy was ambiguous because he said Maiskin Betuma. He was concise, but it could mean that you have to be Betuma. So it's not really correct. Even though
that's what the article says that?
Yeah, which is obviously not true because you're not supposed to be Maiskin Betuma.
Well,
so it's not even
here. Well, who they say that from?
Iran.
That Dafka thought you should be Batuma?
No, he's saying he was ambiguous and clear. When he says Maiskin Batuma, someone might think he means you have to be Maiskin Batuma. Opposed to you could be. So the fact that he was unclear, even though it was more concise, was less valuable.
Right. I hear. Okay, interesting. I didn't see that. Okay, very good. So, okay, weiter. Hanu tlasa kahani. So there were 3 kahanim that were splitting up the lechem upon him. Chadar malahu hugiyani kapul. One said, I got the size of a pull, right? What do you call it? A pull is a bean. Chadar hugiyani kizais. I got a kizais. Chadar hugiyani kizon of halta. I got like the size of the tail of a halta, a lizard or something, or some type of thing like that. Bodku acharav umatzu by shemetz puzzle, and they checked after him and they found a shemetz puzzle. Man, there was something wrong with his yichus, right? I got to tell you 2 funny things here. First of all, when people are trying to describe the size of stains, getting back to Amud Aleph, right? I can tell you all sorts of mashalim people use, jelly belly. And I'm just trying to remember the stuff there's. Well, you'd be shocked when people come up like, use a coin. So use a coin, a penny, a nickel, a quarter, what? Right? Okay, but stop. So different people have different ways of describing things. But they had to check into his yichus, right? I got a guy, so I give a beginner share in Shayashim in the afternoons. So a guy comes in yesterday, says, I think I'm a Levi. Why? Because his grandfather, who's not religious, on his grave has the name of his father that says he was a Levi. So he wants to know if he's a Levi. Okay, fine. Says, it sounds like you're a Levi. Today he comes and he says, I don't think I'm Jewish. Right? I said, what happened now? I guess he's looking to his yichus. Maybe there's something got crossed there. So one day he's a Levi, one day you got to check. I'm not laughing. I'm saying, but check after the yichus. But anyway, so this guy talked like that. So you have to check after his yichus. And they thought it was a psul in his yichus about kahuna. So the Gemara says, okay, weiter. V'tanya ein boitkin min ha-mizbeach u'lamala. Right? It says ein boitkin from the mizbeach u'lamala, meaning once a guy is in, he's in. Once a kohen is in and he's doing avodah, we assume that he was vetted out and there's nothing to check. So we say lo teim shemetz pasal ela ein shachatz pasal. Doesn't mean there was a psul in yichus. That we wouldn't have checked into. No, but what they checked into that there was something. He was a bal gaiva, Rashi says. Yeah.
I'm sorry, because I said this morning, but the same way, who said he did avoid yet? He was coming from the ones who were nichnosim. They also eat from the challah. No, he didn't do avoid. He wasn't from the guys who worked last week. He was coming into work now.
You mean he never had?
Who said he never worked before?
But maybe
he worked.
Wasn't it the same guys on a rotation?
So this is his first week. He became of age. He became 20, whatever it is. And they sent, and he came to Yerushalayim from the Galil, and he never worked before.
I hear. Okay, I don't know. I hear that point. Okay.
Does this concept hold true today?
Meaning
we assume that if somebody says that they're a kohen, that they really are.
We're gonna get to it in a minute. It's really, let's say a guy comes and shows up and says he's Jewish. Is he Jewish? Do we assume he's Jewish?
I mean, should we assume everyone's not Jewish until they prove it? What does that mean?
Well, I'll say 1 second. So let's hold off. But the pashtus is you trust the person, right? But let's see the next ma'isa. The ibay say mashani hasim the the order nafshe.
Article has a note. Article has a note that may what's it called on Rav Aaron's thing. Says that it means that if he found one of his prospective wife's ancestors was kohen who served in the temple, he need not investigate any of that kohen's ancestors. So maybe it's his first time. But once you find a father or grandfather, then you stop investigating.
I hear. Okay. So, but that one saying, what does it have to do with an aliyah?
No, it's talking about Aaron's question.
Oh, you're talking about Rabban? Okay, yeah. Okay, good. We got to finish up here. We say, no, he made himself bad. Once he made himself bad, then we could already look into him. Meaning, normally we don't look into the kohen once he's in there. But if he starts showing signs of that, then it's a problem. Fine. Okay. Now this next story has nothing to do with the sugi that we've been talking about, right? But it's also has to do with this. Ahu Arma, there was an Armenian. He went up to Yerushalayim. Obviously, he told everybody he's Jewish, and he was eating Korban Pesach. Amar Ksiv Kol B'neicha Lo Yochel. It says guy is not allowed to eat it. Kol Ara Lo Yochel, but somebody who doesn't have a bris is not allowed to eat it. V'ano hakachilna. I ate mishufri. I ate from the best pieces of the carbon. Amar Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira mikasafu lach me'alya. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira pulled a scam on him. Right? He said to him, "Did they give you from the tail?" Amar Leiloi, he said no. So Kislagdallah Hasam Emalu Safali Ma'alya. Go tell them that when you go up there, go tell them that you want to eat from the ali. Kisalak Amalu Ma'alya Safali. So he told them, "Give me from the fatty tail." Amar Lei Alya Lugavaya Salga. What do you mean? The alya gets burned. So Amar Lei Man Amar Chachi. Who told you this? Amalu Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira told me. Amru my hide come on. What is this in front of us? Badku basrei vashkachu da'armahu. They checked into him and they found that he was a goy v'katlu and they killed him. Now exactly why they killed him is not so clear. So Sholchulei Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, and they sent a message to Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. Shalom l'cha Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira da'ak ben Netziven and mitzudascha prusa Yerushalayim. You're in Netziven, but your net goes out to all the way to Yerushalayim, meaning you're protecting us even over there, right?
He was one of the Asar Rugi Malchus, no?
Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira? Was he?
Yehuda ben Bava.
Yehuda
I don't think so.
No?
Yeah,
No.
I don't know. So there's two interesting taisus in here. Three really, but no, two. First of all, only a goat, you don't burn the tail, right? So how did he know? Maybe he was going to go up there and they were going to eat a goat. Right, so the Taisa says that because most of the time they were not goats. What?
Are they talking about the Korban Pesach?
Yes.
Not a goat.
Yeah. What? It could be. Right. Most of them were sheep, but it could be. Well, I don't know. What a gedi? How do you touch a gedi? A goat? No.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it could be a gedi. That's what Taisa says, but most of them were not. So it was a sheep. So he just assumed so. Right. Now what? And then Taisa says, why wasn't Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira in Yerushalayim? Isn't there a mitzvah to go to Yerushalayim? Right. So Taisa has a few pshatim. Right. Some say that he didn't own any property, so he's potter, or he was a zaken and he couldn't walk, and right. Or they say Netzivim was in Chutz La'aretz, which is a whole different din. Okay, fine. Let's see. Rav Kahana, Cholash. Rav Kahana. We're on the last thin line. Rav Kahana was weak. Shadru Rabbanon Rabbi Shua Breder Rav Idi, and the Rabbanon sent Rabbi Shua Breder Rav Idi, and they said Amrulei Zil Baduk my dine. Go see what's his din. It's an interesting choice of words, right? What's his din? Yeah, I mean they want to send to see how he's doing. Also Ashkachet Noch Nafshe. He came there and he found that he was nifter. So Kare. He tore his clothing like you do for a Rebbe, but he turned the torn clothing to the back, meaning he put his shirt on backwards. And then he was crying. And he came back crying. And they asked him, was he nifter? I didn't say anything. Because somebody who says bad things is a ksil, is foolish. So he didn't want to say it. He didn't want to let it out of his mouth, the bad news. So therefore he was crying and he didn't even want to see the torn clothing. So he turned it backwards. That's one story. So we're going to see this. It continues on to the next Amud. So we'll handle this more, what the halacha is about saying bad news tomorrow. So he went out to the fields. So when he came back, so they said to him, is the wheat nice? Does it look nice? Is the barley looks nice? Because he didn't want to say the wheat. So he said the barley looks nice. It's mashma that the wheat is not nice. Go tell that to the horses and to the donkeys. That goes to That's horse food. Why are you telling us about horse food? So good. So my Havalei, remember, what should he have said? If he didn't want to say a negative thing, what should he have said? Ishtakir, he should have said, last year, Nasuchit in Yafas. Last year was nice wheat. This year, which would then infer that this year's wheat is no good. Inami, Adoshim Nasu Yafas, or he should have said the beans, which beans are eaten by humans, that's nice, but the wheat is not. So you see from here that you're not supposed to be the one to give bad news. Right? The question is, if that's the case, how do you let anybody know about bad news? Right? So that we'll see that the Gemara continues in the sugya onto Amud Aleph. Okay.
Say the Salah Susim al Chamayrim is refined speech.
And a Chanami. But doesn't say, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. But who says that this were they Talmidei Chachamim? They were just, the regular townsfolk who asked them to go check out what was going over there. No,
I thought the nice speech is on not saying something bad, but you're not saying something bad when you say.
What do you mean? The town village.
If someone were to say this year's wheat crop went bad, that's a negative thing. But if you say that the Susim and Chamorim will
you go give it to the Susim and Chamorim. I mean, we're saying it like, go tell it to the horse.
Cynicism is not necessarily a bad thing.
That sarcastically.
We're only learning it as sarcastic. We're only learning it sarcastic. Maybe it wasn't said sarcastically. Say, listen, what are you telling? What are you telling?
What does sarcastic mean? Who talks sarcastic? What is that?
No, I'm saying when he says go tell it to the horses and to the.
Yeah, right? What does he tell? What does that mean? What does that have to do with anything?
We're not talking what they answered him. They asked him how the wheat was, and he said something that wasn't negative. What the Gemara is talking about is saying something negative against something or for something, in regards to something, right?
I got it, but the Gemara before talks about refined speech.
Yeah, again, refined speech doesn't mean that you can't say something about horses and stuff. You're talking about that not saying something bad against something, whatever that something is. It could be wheat. We're still sensitive to that.
If I asked you how's Indiana, right? You can answer me. It's not like New York.
I'm not refined. I'm not a refined person. I'll tell you, it's 1,000 times better than New York. I would.
This sounds like mindfulness, that new trend that people are doing. Everything's great.
Now you're overcompensating. That's different.
I would denigrate New York. I would burn it down. But the reality is that we're not talking about what Simon Springer does or Zevi Bold does. We're talking about the times of the Gemara when they're trying to impart some information. It's not saying you can't say it would be good for X, Y, and Z. They're saying don't say bad against the wheat harvest. Say work around it. It's foreign to us because we're on a much lower level than they are. They were much more sensitive to these things than we were.
What is the Lashon say v'sal susum chamayim?
He didn't say that. The guy that's reporting on the wheat fields didn't say that. They're responding.
But the people that he's reporting to are saying a negative thing.
That's not his problem. His problem is how he speaks. And we're talking Reuven and Shimon. Reuven said one thing, how Shimon responds is a different story.
It's on the dining room table. There's two of them. Just walk in. Thank you. I hear it saying. I mean, the word susim and chamayrim is by itself treif, right? They're treif animals. They're not kosher. Is there a difference in saying sus and chamor as opposed to saying a pig?
A bit. It talks about a chamor in the Torah by Bilam. Like what? It's a kosher word.
No, okay. I hear. I think it's
nothing wrong with saying pig if you're talking about pig. He was talking about kosher when he called it pig.
I surmise he said the word chazer, and I think the Gemara just said davar acher.
Yeah.
It would be lashon lo naki to say davar acher. Instead, he said chazer. I feel like a chazer.
Is that the pshat? I was wondering. Is that the pshat?
I wonder. Because, I mean, why would the Gemara say, get it? Everybody gets it. It's like he said,
He was saying, why do you have to say davar acher? I mean, why is, okay, I hear.
He probably said, I don't like a pig, which is not the most naki, as we would say, not the most naki way. My father recipe say, not the nicest way to put it.
Right. Well, that's a nice
the
way to
Gemara
put
does that. The Gemara does that in many places. They call Acher. They don't call him by his name.
Well, that's different. That's more of an insult, I think.
No, it's you don't want to say the guy that went off the derech. They call him Acher. Saying like it's a nicer way to say it. No, don't think so.
They could have said Elisha ben Avuya.
No, he was Elisha ben Avuya when he was poskening in the Sanhedrin.
And he wasn't a different person.
What are you talking about?
He was Acher. He was a different person.
NCSY?
Whatever.
Well, overall, I think we all could benefit from speaking in our more refined way. And I think our society is, unfortunately, the surrounding society is just not used to that, including presidential debates when the outgoing president made reference to his own whatever.
Oh my! When did we allow politics here?
No. I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about the way people speak.
We're animals. We're animals. Bisman is that we don't even come close to the little toe of the generations before us and how.
I think there are Rabanim today who speak in a refined manner. I don't think everybody speaks in a coarse manner.
For us.
Of course not.
And I can almost guarantee.
Is that a joke?
And I can almost guarantee that from the previous generation from there, that they would be, I don't want to say they'd be considered coarse Khalila, but they wouldn't be considered as refined.
Yaakov's iPad died. He apologizes.
I'm offended.
Get over it.
Doc, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We talk about Eurydice.
Died is not a good lashon.
I know, but I think your argument
iPad is working. Yaakov said that his iPad didn't die, but it's no longer operative.
Much better. You should say somebody else's iPad is working.
It's an ex-parrot.
By the way, in the Yana Diyoma in this month's Reader's Digest, the joke was the kids came home from school and they said, "You think Noah fished anything?" And they said, "No, he only had 2 worms."
Wow,
hey,
that's a good Rebbe. That's a bad Rebbe joke. I like that.
Yes, it is.
No, but the question.
But it could be they had 7
the
if
question
they
we're
ate worms.
The question we're facing here is, accuracy versus, being polite. I mean, sometimes, for example, when it comes to child abuse, for example, you have to teach the children to be very, very specific as to what happened. But you don't want people walking around, using that kind of language on a day-by-day basis. So it's I think it's kind of a difficult, when you want to be precise and in what circumstance and when you want to be a little more refined. I personally find people speak in front of women in a very coarse way that in my generation would be considered obscene.
I don't disagree with you, by the way. And in fact, again, I've only been here for a little over 3 years, but I find that a lot of the people in Middle America still, I don't say refinement because that's certainly not the case, but there's a certain kavod towards the opposite sex that like you just don't say certain things. I remember like I had said something without even thinking. I was at like Rotary or something like that, and someone said, you can't talk like that. I said, what are you talking about? Like I wasn't even thinking about it, and it wasn't crass. I don't even remember the situation, and I stepped back and like, wow, it was so normal to speak like that coming from where I was coming from, that coming to Indiana I had to think about what I said now. It was a really big eye opener for me. And with that,
good night.
I feel like it's like Shabbos Shuba Drosha, Simon. Is he still on, or I can't make fun of him anymore?
No, this is like the isn't it like a Springer, like a talk show host or something?
The opposite of this.
Yep. Man. All right, gentlemen. Signing out.
Good night, y'all.
Who are you calling a gentleman?
Oh, I'm sorry. I take it back. Dover Ockers.
Very good.
Have a good night.
At the when you chazer the daf,
Oh,
be
stop.
careful. And when you're at the smorgasbord or the kiddush, please don't eat like davar acher.
Yeah, exactly.
Be well.
Bye.